Black people, I need some advice. A big reason for boycott Asian businesses is because of the disrespect that black people feel at an Asian business. Y'all are tired of being followed around. Y'all are tired of the owners thinking everyone's gonna steal. And I don't like that. If I was disrespected by any ethnicity, I would never go back to that store. And this is a serious question that I'm asking. How can you protect your business without seeming racist? Because unfortunately, death happens all the time. I've already heard a few suggestions like, get out of that neighborhood, or death is part of business, just put up with it. But I don't think those are the answers either. Because if a business leaves the neighborhood, then people complain that why is the business leaving the neighborhood, like Rite Aid leaving South Chicago. I think a lot of younger Asian business owners want to stand in solidarity with black people, but they also want to protect their business. I think any business, regardless of ethnicity, wants to protect their business. So how can they do so without seeming racist or disrespectful?
I've had several people in my DMs asking for my opinion on Rick Chow, and so far I haven't said anything because I didn't feel I knew enough to be able to form an opinion. But having just caught up with it, here is my take. I think it's a shitty excuse for a bogus race war. Because I'm seeing this from both sides across social media. Black people and Oriental people going at each other, as well as Democrats versus Republicans. But I believe the actions of those involved do not represent their entire demographic. You know, Rick Chow shooting that gun didn't do so on behalf of all Orientals, just as all the black people acquitted of murdering elderly Orientals in US Chinatowns were not acting on behalf of all black people. And again, although I wasn't in the courtroom, I could confidently say that if you were to point a gun at my son, you would be getting shot. However, I agree that the chase leading up to the shooting should never have happened in the first place. So it's a really murky case. But for the people trying to pitch this as a race war, it's interesting to note that there were no Orientals on the jury, but there were 5 black people. So I think everyone should be able to form their own independent opinion on cases like this, and George Floyd, and all the anti-Asian violence in the US, based on their own judgment, and it should never be about allegiance to race. So amidst all the demands I'm seeing on social media that Asian Americans need to take accountability for Rick Chow's actions, of course they don't. When a member of your race commits an action, he doesn't represent the entire race. That's the definition of racism. And no one has an obligation to speak on it or denounce it because they are also a member of that race. This case shouldn't be used to justify anybody's feelings about relations between black and Oriental people. But we could perhaps talk about why 14-year-olds are walking around with loaded guns. And that's not a racial question.
Now, let me hold him there. From this conversation, I genuinely think that he's trying to make up the fact that black people are already acting in some sort of way, and of course, because these black people have acted in this set of way, Asian people will dare to act this kind of set of way, and suddenly all blacks are against them, because I think that's where he's driving to. Because from all indications, right, from all indications, he makes it seem like both races have obviously done something and both races are fighting each other. The reason that this hurts so many people is because, one, many people felt like there wasn't justice given. Secondly, there is a popular video of this Asian American coming online and telling black people to boycott all Asian businesses, that he doesn't care about it. He does not care, and that we black people should watch. So it's not even something about it's not something about just an event. He was specifically targeting the black people, and they came for him. I instantly regretted. Now, the next couple of videos you're going to watch is going to blow your mind. Stick to it, and if you can relate to this content, please do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're heading to 10,000 subscribers. Please do well to subscribe so that we make this channel grow, and let's get into more clips.
Happening for centuries. And instead of holding your community accountable for their anti-blackness, you bring up things like, what about George Floyd? But the thing is, did you forget that they were protesting for days? Did you forget that they were protesting until that man set foot in jail? Or do you not care? Not only that, but then you're washing your hands by saying that he's not a representation of your entire community. And I agree, he's not a representation of your entire community. But at some point, you do need to hold your community accountable for their anti-blackness. Because when you don't, that is the reason why men like him get away with murder, get away with hate crimes. Because it is so normalized to be anti-black in the community. Okay, so next time when you want to make a video, first acknowledge the pain that this community is going through. Because it is not just another day. It is a day in which another black child was targeted due to racism, due to hate. So if you cannot acknowledge that, then don't make a video at all.
Video where an Asian content creator challenges the black community to boycott Asian businesses because without their services, apparently we'd be lost because they mass produce and counterfeit everything, but all the things he mentioned, they did not invent. I think that he fails to realize that the hype around items and making things culturally relevant, that's us. We're the blueprint. We are also the bag. The black dollar represents $1.6 trillion in spending with our silly selves. So while it's not okay to go on social media and create a racial divide, it opens up some conversations about how we should be recycling our own dollars. If y'all want to tag some black hair companies where the manufacturing or is not out of China, maybe it's out of India. If you guys want to tag some Latino and black nail techs, black-owned businesses in terms of clothing where the manufacturer is not done in China, that would be great because I'm a part of a group on Facebook called Black Dollar Connect. You guys want to check that out if you're in the Indianapolis area. And it's about services and recycling the black dollar. Maybe that's things that we need to consider. He probably is sparking a conversation that needs to be had, however, ill his intent was. So everyone have a great day and recycle those black dollars.
My people, y'all are moving super intelligent this time. I'm super proud. I ain't gonna lie. Last time they had us with the riots, with the Breonna Taylor and the George Floyd shit, they had us rioting. But we wasn't the one tearing up shit. There was people behind us rioting but destroying shit. But they were able to put the blame on us because we was mostly the people that were out. Now that we aren't rioting and doing that bullshit and we're actually thinking technically and with our minds, we're saying, oh, you think we need you? Boom. Now we're going to black-owned businesses. That's simple. The switch is that simple, and they hate that switch because they want us to be violent. And guess what? They're going to keep trying to target black people. My people, don't go for that shit. They're targeting us right now for a reason. Don't give them that energy. Don't give them that energy. That's all I got to say.
I agree with other creators who are saying that if you really care about Cyrus and what happened to Cyrus, you will stop going into their stores. Low racial self-esteem is why you keep frequenting their businesses. Your black dollars bought the gun that killed that boy. Your black dollars bought the bullets that went into that boy. You buy their homes, you buy their cars, you put their kids through college, and all you get back in return is shrimp fried rice, hair weave.
This message is for the Asian community because I felt the need to take a moment and make a video just letting you all know that what's going on right now, that there's a lot of black people that don't stand for it and they don't think that it's okay. What I'm referring to is this recent Cyrus and Chow case and how people are having reactions to the verdict. And there's a small percentage of us that are trying to take out their frustration on the Asian community. So it compelled me to make a video just to let y'all know there's a lot of black people that ain't standing for that. Unfortunately, there's some very hypocritical and I'm not afraid to say racist voices in the black community that think that it's somehow okay to penalize unrelated Asian people to a case involving one man in a tragic decision that he made. I've seen them talking about boycotting Asian-owned businesses in retaliation for the decision that they don't agree with. And I just want you to know there's plenty of black people that don't agree with that. So we're going to have your backs and we're going to try and fight to keep this from happening because black people should know better than anyone that what they're talking about doing is blatant racism. Throughout my life, I've had some good Asian friends, Even as of today, I got Asian business partners that help me out with some clients. I play basketball with Asian people. I've admired the culture. I studied martial arts. I have family members, my mom, some of her good friends. They're Asian, and I may be off on saying that, but they even paid to take her on vacation one time because they own a nail shop. So one of the last things that I'm going to allow to happen is for people to come in and penalize you and everything that your family has worked for just because they're unsatisfied with the verdict. Like, I don't think that's right. I don't stand for it. I think it's a ridiculous concept. And I know there's other black people out there that feel the same way. So I'm asking for your help because I just need a small favor. If there's any of you watching this that happen to have black friends, or you just know reasonable black people that might have the same sentiments that I do, if you could just send them this video or something, because ultimately what I want to do is I want to develop a community of like-minded, reasonable black people that know that what some black people are talking about doing right now is completely wrong, and it's not something that we stand for, and it's not something that represents us.
So now that we're boycotting all the Asian businesses, this is the time for all the black people to show up and show out. This is the time for you to be putting your business out there. Let me know what you do. You do nails, you do hair, you do it at your house, do you do it at your mama's house, do you do it at the shop? Wherever you do it, this is the time for you to shine, because at the same time where we're boycotting Asian businesses, and that man to get on here and basically say that, oh, what would we do without the nail shop?
Under systemic oppression and something happens is, what can I do in solidarity instead of looking at this situation as an us versus them problem? If you're still looking at it from the lens of an us versus them problem, then you are on Rick Chow's side. And I know that people can say oh, well, you know what, I have such a diverse spectrum of ideas and I see things differently. But when it comes to systemic oppression in a world that is made to be black and white, then if you are going to look at this boycotting situation as, oh, you shouldn't boycott us, why should we have to pay for the sins of this one guy? That's not the systemic playbook, right? When one person does harm, or even if it's a few people doing harm, right? If you think about slavery in the South, even if it was just a few people, a few families running the whole thing, okay? The systemic issue is still the fact that everybody inherited these core belief systems about certain marginalized groups of people, and we are still perpetuating these ideas, right? The issue is that our ideologies are still there, right? And until we're able to address that, why are we even thinking immediately oh, actually, I'm going to argue about boycotting, when you should be looking at yourself in a mirror and being hey, I realize that I'm contributing, my community is contributing. How have I seen anti-Black racism manifest in Asian spaces? Why are these conversations so difficult to have? I don't know. But they need to be had, right? They exist. They exist. People are doing it, some people are not. But when it comes to the question of solidarity, are you for or against? And if you are for, then have the conversations first before you decide who gets to boycott if you are an Asian person.
I've seen a few comments like this with, Asians and Black people fighting in my comment section. And honestly, it shows how little we actually talk about the history behind all of this. The tension didn't just magically appear. It was shaped by decades of laws, segregation, stereotypes, and political narratives that pushed our communities apart. When Asian immigrants first came to the US, they weren't allowed to live just anywhere. Segregation forced them into Black and brown neighborhoods because those are the only areas open to anyone who wasn't white. So Asians and Black Americans were physically close, but not always connected. Different languages, different histories, limited communication, misunderstandings grew out of that. Then in the 1960s, during the Civil Rights Movement, the US created the model minority myth. The idea that Asian Americans were successful, quiet, and proof that racism doesn't exist. That stereotype was never meant to lift Asians up. It was meant to contrast Asians against Black Americans and basically say, see, they're doing fine, why can't you? It was a political tool that built resentment and pressure on both sides. even though neither community created that narrative. At the same time, anti-Blackness already existed in some Asian cultures because of colonialism, colorism, and Western media influence. And for some Black Americans, their own interactions with Asians were through local businesses, corner stores, nail salons, restaurants, situations that were transactional, not relational. That created frustration and stereotypes on both sides. But here's the thing. In both communities, it's only a small handful of people who are actually hateful or racist. A few loud, ignorant individuals do not represent millions of us. We can't let the worst examples define entire communities. Then COVID hit and all of this got amplified again. Anti-Asian hate skyrocketed. Elderly Asians were attacked, harassed, and blamed for the virus, all because of fear and political scapegoating. Some of the viral videos showed attackers who were Black, and suddenly that tiny number of incidents turned into a whole narrative online like Black people hate Asians, which was inaccurate and unfair. What people forget is that Black activists and Black organizations publicly stood with Asian communities during that time. People protested for us. They protected Asian elders. They spoke out against the hate. But the media rarely highlighted the solidarity, only the violence. And yes, some Asians responded by generalizing those incidents and blaming the entire Black community, which made things even worse, even though the majority of Black people had nothing to do with those attacks. COVID didn't create new racism. It exposed what was already unaddressed and made stereotypes louder because everyone was scared and hurting. But amid all of that, we forget that historically there has also been real solidarity. Asian American activists learned organizing strategies from Black civil rights leaders. Filipino and Black farm workers united under Larry Itliong and Cesar Chavez. Japanese American activists stood with the Black Panthers. Yuri Kochiyama worked alongside Malcolm X. In Oakland, Black and Asian communities built programs together to fight poverty and injustice. These are real alliances. They just don't get talked about as much as the conflicts. That's why we need to zoom out. Like, a handful of ignorant people shouldn't define entire communities. A bad experience shouldn't turn into a stereotype. We shouldn't let old narratives and old wounds be recycled and divide us again. Asians and Black people have both faced discrimination, exclusion, violence, and being treated like outsiders. We have more in common than we think, and when we work together, there's real power, real healing, and real progress. We just have to stop letting fear.
Now, let me make this very clear. I like the fact that Asian Americans, in fact, most of the videos you've watched here, Asian Americans are saying it very clean and clear. You cannot go against the Black community, the same community who accepted you. In fact, your stores are found in these communities. These communities, the Black people spend their Black dollar on you. They make you survive. And to think for a fact that you actually come out and say we should boycott your businesses is crazy. Now, Asian Americans who have spoken against this, your props are up there. Shout out to you, because it's funny, it's disturbing. Now, Black Americans fought for you to enter this country. In fact, you won't be able to even open up these stores in a white neighborhood because they see you as people of color. They see you like that. But guess what? You turn back and you are telling Black people to boycott their businesses. Now it's happening. Black people are now realizing the whole thing. They're opening up their own businesses, boycotting Asian businesses, especially pedicure, manicure businesses. What happens to you now? Is it going to benefit you? Of course not. Is it going to benefit the Black Africans? Of course not. But why will you actually make the video and be like, I don't think I've added this video to this clip, but this guy was like, go boycott our businesses and see what happens. Now he's seen it. This is the reality. You don't talk like that to Black people. And speaking about the little boy, he was already judged. He was already racially profiled, which is not right. If he was already racially profiled, regardless of what he did, the outcome will still be the same. And that's the problem. I think Asians have to discover that Black people are the only people that likely accept them than other races. Blacks, we accept people. We're very hospitable. In fact, we're the nicest people. Guess what? We've also been the people that have suffered the most. We've been tortured for years. And this white Korean or lady came up and saying, we're asking for reparations. In fact, we deserve it. We genuinely deserve it, because your race won't be able to go through what we've gone through for the last 300 years. We actually deserve it. And again, I love the fact that most Asians came out to speak about this openly. If they didn't speak up, then it became a problem. It would have gotten worse, because at some point we'll be like, Black people folks will be like, since nobody's talking about it, that means that's something that's already pre-made. It's already something that they know already. But I'm happy about this, and I love my black folks too. We don't sit quiet about things like this. We say it as it is, and we take action. We take action. I've ranted for too long. All I'm saying is this: we want peace. We don't want scenarios where we're always profiled and judged. In fact, that woman even said, if we didn't take care of our kids, that wouldn't be happening. Who is she to say that? Who is she? Meanwhile, you guys racially judge us. Like, who is she? Ah, goodness. Spare me that. You know, at the end of the day, right, both races are losing, and especially Asians, because they produce these products, they sell it, and who consumes? The blacks. But guess what? These blacks are opening up. Black businesses now booming because blacks want to support their own. I understand the fact that if you're running a business, attitude is going to come, especially for black Africans. That's just naturally us. I understand it. But the same attitude can be gotten from another race. But when it's a black man, we didn't bring up our kids right. That's why they're acting that way. I could say if not the same thing for you guys as well. You guys racially profile a whole lot, and I can say this for a fact. Now, at the end of the day, this is already causing a race war between us. And I like the fact that both ends are seeing this and realizing that it's not helping anybody. We want unity. Think about a world where you're not judged because of the way you look. It still baffles me because we, the blacks, are open to accepting people. Asians are still seen as people of color. You won't do that in a white neighborhood. You just won't open your stores in a white neighborhood so easily. So why all this? Why all this? Please share me your thoughts in the comment section. I'll be interested in knowing what are your thoughts, and I'll see you in another one, guys. Bye bye.